Empaths don't attract narcissists because they're too kind. They attract them because they're unconsciously offering narcissists the darkest parts of themselves they refuse to own. Carl Jung discovered this psychological truth over 100 years ago, and what he found will completely shatter how you see your pattern of toxic relationship. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why you've been a magnet for dangerous people, and, more importantly, how to break this cycle forever. Maybe you're dealing with the aftermath of another devastating relationship with a narcissist. Perhaps you've noticed that every person you're drawn to seems to have that same manipulative edge, that same ability to make you feel incredible one moment and worthless the next. Or you might be asking yourself that haunting question: why do I keep choosing the same type of person? Let me paint a picture that might feel familiar. You meet someone at a coffee shop, and within minutes, you're captivated. They're confident in a way you've never been, ordering their drink with authority, making eye contact with everyone, taking up space without apology. You find yourself thinking, I wish I could be that self-assured. 3 months later, that same confidence has become controlling demands about who you can see and where you can go. Or maybe it's the way they handle conflict. You've always been the peacemaker, the one who apologizes first, who bends over backward to avoid confrontation. But this person, they fight for what they want. They don't back down. Initially, you admire this quality until you realize they're fighting against you, using every vulnerability you've shared as ammunition. If these scenarios feel like déjà vu, you're not alone. This isn't just your personal struggle. It's a pattern that affects millions of empathic people worldwide. You've probably tried everything. Therapy sessions where you analyzed your childhood, self-help books that told you to love yourself more, dating breaks that lasted months, even complete isolation from romantic relationships. Yet somehow, when you do open your heart, there they are, another charming, charismatic person who slowly reveals their true nature. Here's what's deeply frustrating. Conventional psychology treats this as a simple case of low self-esteem or trauma from your past. Therapists tell you to just set better boundaries or work on your self-worth. Dating coaches say to trust your gut and look for red flags. But if it were that simple, you would have figured it out by now, wouldn't you? The truth is, you can spot red flags from a mile away. You know the warning signs by heart. You can write a manual on narcissistic behavior. But knowledge isn't stopping the attraction. In fact, sometimes you feel drawn to these people precisely because you recognize something in them. Something that both terrifies and fascinates you. But what if I told you that Carl Jung solved this exact problem over a century ago? His approach doesn't just help you understand why you attract narcissists. It gives you the power to transform this pattern at its psychological root. Jung discovered that what you call attraction is actually something much more profound. Your psyche's desperate attempt to reclaim the parts of yourself you've disowned. This isn't about fixing your self-esteem or learning to spot red flags better. This is about understanding the hidden psychological mechanism that makes you irresistible to the exact people who will hurt you most. And more importantly, it's about learning how to reclaim the power you've been unconsciously giving away your entire life. In the early 1900s, Jung observed something fascinating about human relationships. He noticed that people weren't just attracted to others who complemented them. They were magnetically drawn to individuals who embodied the very qualities they had disowned within themselves. He saw that this wasn't conscious choice, but an unconscious psychological process that modern psychology would later call projection. Here's where Jung's genius becomes clear. He realized that we don't just repress negative emotions or traumatic memories. We also repress positive qualities that we've been taught are unacceptable. Your capacity for healthy anger when someone crosses your boundaries, repressed because you were told nice people don't get angry. your ability to prioritize your own needs, locked away because selfishness was shameful, your natural inclination to manipulate situations to your advantage, buried because manipulation is wrong. Jung understood that the shadow isn't just negative traits we hide. It's also our disowned power, our unexpressed authenticity, our capacity for strategic thinking, and yes, even our ability to influence and control when necessary for our protection. These aren't inherently bad qualities, but when we refuse to acknowledge them within ourselves, they don't disappear. Instead, they get projected onto others. Today, we call this phenomenon trauma bonding or codependency. But Jung's approach goes deeper than contemporary therapy, because he understood that what we're actually attracted to in narcissists is our own disowned shadow projected onto them. This is why you can spot a narcissist from across the room, not because you're naturally intuitive about toxic people, but because your unconscious mind recognizes the very qualities you've split off from yourself. This explains why you feel that instant, inexplicable connection with certain people. Your therapist might call it chemistry or warn you about love bombing, but Jung would say it's recognition, your psyche recognizing aspects of itself that it desperately wants back. This is revolutionary because it means your attraction to narcissists isn't a flaw, a weakness, or evidence that you're broken. It's your psyche's attempt to become whole again. Understanding this changes everything about how you approach healing and relationships. I know this is getting deep already. Let me give you a moment to process this. What Jung discovered is profound, and it's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about why you're drawn to narcissists. Are you ready for the next revelation? Let me explain how shadow projection actually works with a visual analogy that will make this crystal clear. Imagine that your psyche is like a house with multiple rooms. Now, throughout your life, especially in childhood, you learned that certain parts of your personality weren't acceptable. Maybe your anger wasn't welcome in your family, so you locked it away in the basement. Perhaps your selfishness was criticized by teachers, so you banished it to the attic. Your capacity for manipulation, your ability to be cold and calculating when necessary, your natural assertiveness, all of these got stuffed into the psychological equivalent of storage rooms. But here's what's crucial. These qualities didn't disappear. They're still there, locked away in your shadow storage, growing stronger and more distorted because they're hidden from the light of consciousness. Now, when you meet a narcissist, what happens? Your unconscious mind recognizes these shadow qualities in them immediately. It's like they found the keys to all your locked rooms and are now displaying your hidden furniture in their living room. This is why you feel that instant, inexplicable attraction. You're not attracted to them as a person. You're attracted to the disowned parts of yourself they're embodying. Let me give you a specific example. Sarah was raised in a family where being selfish was the worst possible thing. Her mother constantly sacrificed herself for others and praised Sarah only when she did the same. By age 25, Sarah had completely disowned her ability to prioritize her own needs. Then she met Marcus, who was unapologetically self-centered. He ordered exactly what he wanted at restaurants, left parties when he was bored, and never apologized for putting himself first. Sarah was instantly attracted to Marcus, not because she consciously wanted to be with someone selfish, but because her unconscious recognized the quality she'd lost, the ability to prioritize herself. The narcissist becomes a container for your shadow, and unconsciously, you believe that being with them will somehow give you access to these lost parts of yourself. This is why you feel so alive, so complete when you're with them initially. You're literally experiencing psychological wholeness for the first time, but it's a false wholeness because it's dependent on another person rather than integrated within you. This next part explains the most crucial aspect of why empaths specifically attract narcissists. Take a deep breath because understanding this will change everything. Now, you might be wondering, but why narcissists specifically? Why not just anyone who embodies these shadow qualities? This is where Jung's insights become even more sophisticated. Narcissists aren't just displaying shadow qualities, they're specialized shadow containers. Think of them as psychological black holes that are specifically designed to absorb and hold the disowned parts of empathic people. Here's the visual analogy. Imagine your shadow qualities are like light, and the narcissist is like a black mirror. When you project your shadow onto them, instead of reflecting it back to you so you can integrate it, they absorb it completely. They become more powerful while you become more depleted. This is why empaths are specifically targeted. Your capacity for empathy means you're highly sensitive to psychological energy. You can sense when someone is carrying parts of you that you've lost. But empaths also tend to have more substantial shadow material because you've been conditioned to be good and selfless, which means you've disowned more of your natural human complexity. Let me share another example. Michael was an empath who had completely disowned his capacity for manipulation. He'd been taught that manipulation was evil, so he became painfully transparent and honest to a fault. Then he met Diana, a narcissist who was a master manipulator. She could get anyone to do anything through subtle influence and strategic emotional appeals. Michael was fascinated by Diana's ability to navigate social situations and get what she wanted. What he didn't realize was that he was attracted to his own disowned capacity for influence and strategic thinking. Diana recognized this immediately. She saw that Michael had given away his power to influence situations, and she positioned herself as the holder of that power. The narcissist intuitively recognizes that you're carrying a wealth of disowned power, anger, selfishness, and strategic thinking. They position themselves as the container for these qualities, and you unconsciously believe that being with them is the only way to access these parts of yourself. But here's the trap. Because the narcissist is a false container, they don't actually help you integrate your shadow. Instead, they use your projected shadow qualities to manipulate and control you. They become the very thing you disowned about yourself, but in a distorted, destructive way. Diana didn't help Michael develop healthy influence skills. Instead, she used his projected capacity for manipulation against him, gaslighting him and controlling his perception of reality. She became the manipulator so he could remain the pure one, but this dynamic slowly destroyed his sense of self. Okay, I need you to stay with me here, because what I'm about to share might be difficult to accept, but it's the key to your freedom. This creates what Jung would call the attraction loop, a psychological cycle that keeps you trapped in toxic relationships. Let me show you how this works with another visual analogy and real examples. Imagine you have an invisible magnet inside you, and this magnet is specifically calibrated to attract its opposite. But here's the twist. The magnet isn't attracting what you need, it's attracting what you've rejected about yourself. The cycle works like this. Phase 1. Recognition. You meet someone who embodies your shadow qualities. Lisa, who had disowned her anger, met Jake, who expressed rage freely. Emma, who had rejected her sexuality, met David, who was openly sexual and confident. Tom, who had disowned his ambition, met Rachel, who was ruthlessly driven. You feel that magnetic pull because your unconscious recognizes these as missing pieces of yourself. Phase 2. Honeymoon integration. You enter what feels like a honeymoon phase. Lisa felt powerful and protected when Jake got angry on her behalf. Emma felt alive and desirable in David's sexual confidence. Tom felt successful and important through Rachel's ambitious projects. You feel complete, whole, alive in ways you never have before. This isn't love, It's the temporary experience of psychological integration. You're finally experiencing the fullness of who you could be. Phase 3. Shadow distortion. The narcissist begins to withhold these shadow qualities or use them against you. Jake's anger turned toward Lisa when she disagreed with him. David's sexuality became demands and coercion when Emma didn't comply. Rachel's ambition became using Tom's resources without reciprocation. They become selfish in destructive ways, confident in ways that diminish you, manipulative in ways that cause you pain. But instead of recognizing this as a distortion of your own disowned qualities, you believe you need them more. Phase 4. Addiction to wholeness. You become addicted to the brief moments when they do reflect your shadow back to you in positive ways. Lisa chased the moments when Jake's anger protected her. Emma craved the times when David made her feel desirable. Tom lived for Rachel's acknowledgement of his contributions. You chase these moments of feeling whole, not realizing that the wholeness you're seeking can only come from within. Phase 5. Repetition. Compulsion. Even when the relationship ends, you haven't integrated your shadow. You've just lost access to the false container. Lisa found herself attracted to another angry man. Emma sought out another sexually dominant partner. Tom was drawn to another ambitious woman who needed his resources, so you unconsciously search for another narcissist who can hold these qualities for you. This is why you keep attracting the same type of person. You're not actually attracted to them. You're attracted to the disowned parts of yourself they represent. Each relationship is your psyche's attempt to reclaim these qualities, but because you're seeking them externally, rather than integrating them internally, the pattern continues. Now, I know this has been a lot to take in. Jung's insights can feel overwhelming at first because they're so much deeper than what we usually hear about toxic relationships. But this depth is exactly what's going to set you free. Are you ready to learn how? The solution isn't to stop being empathic, to build higher walls, or to swear off relationships entirely. The solution is shadow integration, consciously reclaiming the parts of yourself you've disowned so you no longer need to project them onto others. Think of it like this. Imagine you've been living in a beautiful house where you've locked away half the rooms because someone told you they were bad rooms. You've been trying to find completeness by visiting other people's houses that have similar rooms. But what if, instead, you could unlock your own doors and reclaim your entire house? This is what shadow integration offers. When you consciously acknowledge and integrate your capacity for healthy selfishness, appropriate anger, strategic thinking, sexual confidence, ambition, and yes, even manipulation when necessary for protection, you no longer need to find these qualities in others. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Remember Lisa, who had disowned her anger? Through shadow work, she learned to access her own healthy anger. She practiced expressing frustration when her boundaries were crossed, speaking up when she disagreed, and advocating for her needs. When she met her current partner, James, she wasn't attracted to his anger because she had access to her own. Instead, she was attracted to his emotional intelligence and his ability to communicate calmly, qualities that complemented her newfound assertiveness rather than compensated for her repression. Emma integrated her sexuality by exploring her desires, expressing her preferences, and owning her sensual nature. When she met her partner Sarah, she wasn't seeking someone to make her feel desirable. She already felt desirable. Instead, she was attracted to Sarah's emotional depth and creativity. Tom reclaimed his ambition by starting his own project, setting career goals, and pursuing success for himself. When he met his partner Kim, he wasn't drawn to her drive because he lacked his own. He was attracted to her kindness and collaborative spirit. Here's what's beautiful about this process. As you integrate your shadow, you naturally become less attractive to narcissists and more attractive to emotionally healthy people. This isn't because you're changing your fundamental personality. It's because you're becoming psychologically whole. A person who has integrated their shadow doesn't need a narcissist to feel complete. They don't need someone else to be angry for them, ambitious for them, sexual for them, or manipulative for them. They can access these qualities within themselves in healthy, conscious ways. This is why Jung's approach is so much more effective than traditional therapy. Instead of just learning to spot red flags or set boundaries, you're actually transforming the psychological mechanism that creates the attraction in the first place. Now, let's translate Jung's insights into practical steps you can take today. I'm going to give you 3 micro-specific practices for shadow integration that will begin to shift your attraction patterns immediately. These aren't generic self-help techniques. They're precise interventions based on Jung's understanding of how the psyche works. Step 1. The daily shadow recognition practice, based on Jung's principle of projection withdrawal. For the next week, whenever you feel attracted to someone or find yourself admiring a quality in another person, ask yourself, what disowned part of myself am I seeing in them? You're at a work meeting and you find yourself drawn to how confidently your colleague presents their ideas. Don't just think they're so confident. Instead, take a bathroom break and ask yourself, what would my confidence look like if I allowed myself to fully express it? Then, before the meeting ends, share one opinion you've been holding back. If you're scrolling social media and feel drawn to someone's lifestyle photos because they seem so carefree and spontaneous, recognize that you're projecting your disowned spontaneity. Then, within 24 hours, do something spontaneous. Take a different route home, try a new restaurant, or call a friend you haven't spoken to in months. The key is immediate action. Don't try to analyze or judge the quality you're seeing. Just identify it and then express a healthy version of it yourself within 24 hours. This breaks the projection pattern and begins the integration process. Step 2. Conscious selfishness integration. Jung understood that empaths often disown their natural selfishness, then seek it in narcissists. Today, practice one act of conscious selfishness that serves your well-being without harming others. If you always let others choose the restaurant when you go out, today you choose and don't apologize for it. Say, I'd like to try that new Thai place, instead of, I don't care, whatever you want. If you always offer to help with everything, today, when someone asks for help, say, I can't help with that today, but I'm available on Thursday. If your friend always vents to you but never asks how you're doing, today interrupt the conversation and say, before we continue, I need to tell you about something that happened to me. Start small and build up. The goal isn't to become selfish in a harmful way, but to reclaim your right to have preferences, needs, and desires, and to act on them without guilt. Step 3. Strategic anger integration practice. Many empaths have completely disowned their anger, which they then seek in narcissists who are willing to fight. This week, practice expressing microdoses of anger in healthy, strategic ways. If someone cuts in line at the coffee shop, don't just think that's rude and fume silently. Say, excuse me, I was here first, in a calm but firm tone. If a friend cancels plans at the last minute again, don't just say, it's okay. Say, I'm disappointed because I was looking forward to this, and it's the second time this month. If your coworker takes credit for your idea in a meeting, don't just let it slide. Say, actually, that was the idea I shared with you yesterday. I'm glad you think it's worth pursuing. Remember, anger is information. It tells you when your boundaries are being crossed or your values are being violated. When you can access your own anger consciously and express it strategically, you don't need someone else to be angry for you. Once a week, have a conversation with your disowned shadow qualities. This might sound strange, But Jung used this technique with great success. Write a letter to your disowned anger, selfishness, or sexuality as if it were a separate person. Ask it, why did I send you away? What do you need from me? How can we work together? Then write a response from that quality's perspective. You might be surprised by what emerges. Start today by identifying one shadow quality you've been projecting onto others. This week, practice expressing healthy versions of disowned qualities daily. Over the next month, notice how your attraction patterns begin to shift as you become more psychologically complete. After 3 months of consistent practice, evaluate whether you're still drawn to the same type of people. The goal isn't to become a different person, it's to become a whole person who doesn't need others to hold parts of you that you can hold yourself. So what did Carl Jung teach us about why empaths attract dangerous narcissists? 3 revolutionary insights that will transform how you approach relationships forever. First, attraction to narcissists isn't about low self-esteem, daddy issues, or being too nice. It's about shadow projection. You're attracted to the disowned parts of yourself that narcissists embody. When you meet someone who expresses anger freely and you've disowned your anger, when you encounter someone who's unapologetically selfish and you've rejected your selfishness, when you find someone who's sexually confident and you've repressed your sexuality, you're not attracted to them. You're attracted to the parts of yourself you've lost. Second, narcissists function as false containers for your shadow qualities. Instead of helping you integrate these parts of yourself like a healthy partner would, they use your projected shadow to manipulate and control you. They become the angry one so you can stay nice, the sexual one so you can stay pure, the ambitious one so you can stay humble. This creates a psychological dependency where you believe you need them to access these parts of yourself. And most importantly, the solution isn't to change your empathic nature, build higher walls, or swear off relationships. It's to integrate your shadow so you no longer need to project it onto others. When you consciously reclaim your capacity for healthy anger, strategic selfishness, sexual confidence, and ambitious drive, you become psychologically whole and no longer need a narcissist to feel complete. This is why Jung's approach succeeds, where conventional therapy often falls short. While traditional approaches focus on spotting red flags, building self-esteem, or setting boundaries, Jung's method addresses the psychological mechanism that creates the attraction in the first place. You can learn every red flag in the book, but if you're still projecting your shadow, you'll still feel that magnetic pull. When you apply Jung's insights to your relationship patterns, you don't just learn to avoid narcissists, you transform into someone who naturally attracts emotionally healthy people. You move from being psychologically incomplete and seeking wholeness through others, to being psychologically integrated and choosing relationships from a place of completeness rather than need. This is the difference between managing your patterns and truly transforming them. Jung gives you the tools to reclaim the parts of yourself you've been unconsciously seeking in others, and in doing so, you free yourself from the cycle entirely. If Jung's insights into shadow projection and narcissistic attraction resonated with you, subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community of philosophical healers who are transforming their lives through ancient wisdom applied to modern problems. Tell me in the comments, which of Jung's insights hit you the hardest? The idea that you're attracted to your own disowned shadow, that narcissists are false containers for your projected qualities, or that integration is the key to breaking the pattern? And what shadow quality do you think you've been projecting onto others? Your anger, your sexuality, your ambition, or your capacity for strategic thinking? Your healing journey matters, and understanding these deep psychological patterns is the first step toward the healthy, conscious relationships you deserve. Remember, you're not broken for having these patterns. You're human, and with Jung's insights, You have the tools to transform them completely.